Welcome to Cinecaps. Today I will show you an action thriller film from 2019 titled Angel Has Fallen. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Secret Service agent Mike excels in training at a military facility, setting a record by nearly reaching the extraction point. The facility is run by his ex-commanding officer, Wade, who's now a friend and CEO of a struggling private military company. Upon hearing of Mike's likely promotion to Secret Service director, Wade asks for Mike to throw him a bone once in a while to boost his business. Mike will see what he can do. Mike conceals his chronic back pain, stemming from past combat injuries, relying heavily on painkillers for relief. He confides in the doctor about suffering from migraines and insomnia but hides the truth about his profession. The doctor recommends retirement to avoid sudden collapse, unaware of the full extent of Mike's duties. However, retiring is not a viable choice for Mike, given his responsibility to provide for his expanding family. Mike serves as a bodyguard for the US President Allen, who is about to change the world with his Peace Act. Mike and his family enjoy a pleasant gathering with Wade, and later, Mike confides in him about his hesitation to accept the director's position, feeling unsuited for desk work. However, he promises to recommend Wade's company once a new director is selected. After another sleepless night for Mike, he's leaving for a few days to guard the president on his vacation fishing trip. That's a lot of troops to guard just one person. Allen tells Mike he wants him to become the next director, but feels Mike's hesitation and gives him a few days to talk it over with his wife. Having another one of his episodes, he requests for a change. Meanwhile, a few black vans with armed men arrive nearby. They arm their launcher system, shooting out hundreds of drones. Mike notices the approaching drone swarm, designed to target the president's security, detonating upon impact. Despite attempts to shoot them down, their numbers prove overwhelming, devastating the security team. As drones close in on Mike, they suddenly divert, sparing him by a deliberate command from the attackers. Realizing the gravity of the situation, an agent acts decisively, pushing President Allen overboard. Mike quickly follows, diving to protect the president and using the water to shield them from the drone attack. The news buzz about the failed assassination attempt on the president, who's currently in a coma, being transported to the nearest hospital, together with Mike. With the president under treatment and unresponsive, James, the vice president, becomes the acting president of the U.S. Allen and Mike are the only miraculous survivors of the attack, and the FBI agent Helen is there to investigate what happened. Upon regaining consciousness, Mike finds himself handcuffed. Helen informs him that evidence implicating him in the assassination attempt on the president has surfaced. His DNA was discovered on the van's drone launcher controls, $10 million deposited in an offshore account under his name, and traces of the same explosives used in the attack found in his garage. This collection of evidence frames Mike as the mastermind behind the plot, resulting in his arrest. While being transported to prison, Mike's convoy is stealthily followed by a car filled with armed men. They deploy an EMP to neutralize the vehicles and their electronics, then forcibly ram into both escort vehicles. The assailants eliminate all the guards, blow open Mike's door, unchain him, and drag him into their car, intending to execute him and make his death look like a disappearance. Mike, however, resists, engaging in a desperate struggle with his captors. He manages to overpower and kill them, causing the car to crash. After freeing himself from the handcuffs, Mike unmasks his attackers, shocked to discover they are mercenaries from Wade's company, the same ones he encountered during a training exercise. Helen gets notified of Mike's escape and wants the whole nation to be alert and after him. They've also found the crashed car with 4 assailants dead. Wade is receiving backlash from his employers for failing to deal with Mike and having a liability run around free. Wade argues that there is still enough evidence for the FBI to firmly suspect that Mike is behind the attack, but he has to be eliminated. Using a payphone at a gas station, Mike calls his wife Leah and tells her he's fine. He also knows that Helen is listening and promises to find whoever set him up. As the FBI trace the location of the call, Mike is ambushed by 2 wannabe heroes, recognizing Mike as America's Most Wanted. When one attempts to use their phone, Mike quickly neutralizes the threat, while the other backs down. Securing a truck, he barely manages to escape as the cops arrive. But his relief is not long-lived, as one of the police cars makes a U-turn and begins pursuit. Fleeing from the police, he uses a tree to overturn his trailer and block their advance shortly. Driving through a dirt road, there's a helicopter tracking his location and a dozen police cars after him. But due to high speed and poor visibility, Mike crashes into the concrete side of a bridge, overturning his car. Mike climbs out and starts fleeing into the dark woods on foot. In the morning, they still haven't found Mike. What Helen finds strange is that they can't identify the 4 people Mike killed in the car crash. James gets notified of a possibility that Mike might be working for Russians, but they don't have concrete proof it's actually not a setup. With Mike's face all over the news, Wade knows he won't be able to use public transport or spaces. He wants his team to find out where Mike could regroup. Mike hasn't had any sleep in 2 days and the adrenaline is fading. As he arrives at a secluded spot, he hears footsteps on leaves and spots an old man, who's wondering how Mike found him. Turns out it's Mike's father, who walked out on him when he was a kid, but Mike still kept tabs on him. Mike starts experiencing severe back pain and withdrawals from his painkiller addiction. Meanwhile in White House, the acting President James gives a statement that Mike planned and carried out the assassination attempt with the support of the Russian government. Wade's team has found out Mike has been keeping tabs on his father and that it's the most likely place to find him. Mike's father wakes him up and they see Wade's mercenaries approach. He's had a lot of time on his hands and old habits die hard. He had dug a tunnel and rigged the place with explosives, killing a few before Mike grabs his rifle and steps into action. As Mike is doing his share of the work, it turns out the whole forest is a huge minefield for the old man to just toy around. This is one way to start a forest fire. In the morning, unlocking one of the mercenaries' phones, Mike calls Wade, who reveals that Alan's peace act is in the way, but it's not about the money. Wade loves war. Mike promises that he will find him, and he will kill him. Taking the old man's car, Mike leaves a message for Helen with his old man Shaq's location. The mercenary bodies are lined up with a note that they work for Wade's company. And once again, they can't match a single person in their federal database. Helen begins to connect the dots, suspecting Wade framed Mike to interfere with the peace act. Meanwhile Alan slowly starts to recover from his coma. Mike hears the news through the radio, but he's afraid that Wade and whoever is working with him might still go after Alan. He needs to get to the president himself. After Mike asks his father for one last favor, they split up. Wade gets a call from his employer, edging him to finish his initial task of killing the president. The man behind it is the acting president himself. Back at Mike's home, two men walk in on Leah and their kid. They intend to hold her captive as an insurance against Mike, but his father is there and he neutralizes both the assailants, before emotionally introducing himself to Mike's family. When Alan finally regains consciousness, his staff tells him about Mike's situation and that James is very close to starting a war with Russia over his assassination attempt. Just as Wade is about to storm the hospital where Alan is held, Helen arrives at his base with court orders to seize their operations. Helen reveals to Wade that she knows what Wade is up to and that leaves him no choice but to shoot everyone, not sparing even Helen herself. With the FBI onto them, Wade calls off all of their activities except the assassination on Alan. With the Secret Service all around the hospital, Mike manages to hold a trooper at gunpoint and get his gear. He then calls out fake commands through the radio, ultimately giving himself a clear passage to the emergency elevator after holding one agent captive. Walking out the elevator with a hostage, Mike demands to speak with the president. He intentionally gives himself up and is allowed to speak with Alan. He tells him it's code red and that Wade is on his way to finish the job. Alan knows that Mike is on his side and orders to uncuff him. Despite the Secret Service director's protests, Alan gives Mike full authority over the situation. As Wade nears the hospital, only 20 minutes away, Mike constantly keeps checking all posts outside. While waiting for the Marines to arrive, a nurse remarks that the hospital's system has been experiencing unusual crashes throughout the day, when suddenly their oxygen lines start to malfunction. Somebody has hacked their gas systems and plans to blow the place up. With no time to wait for the Marines to arrive, Mike intends to get Alan out through the garage and back alley. Unfortunately, Wade is already there and neutralizes the driver and the car. A tense battle between the Special Service and Wade's mercenary group ensues, with Mike calling that they have to move. Wade almost lands a shot on Alan, but one of the guards takes the hit instead. Just as they manage to get to the nearest office building, the hospital blows up, demolishing one of the wings completely. Mike orders agents to build a barricade and intends to hold up in the corner office to wait for reinforcements. With the FBI and the National Guard dispatched to their location, Wade has only so much time left to finish the job. Mike orders the agents to defend this point with their lives. He will look for flanks. Wade spots the agents near the corner office, realizing that Alan must be there. His whole team opens fire on the position, with the agents having close to no way of fighting back. Meanwhile, Mike is making a dent in Wade's flanking team, killing a dozen men before getting hit in his vest. With only 2 agents left to cover the room, Wade uses a grenade launcher to deal with them. Mike knows it's bad news when he doesn't hear gunshots. Secured in an office, the director serves as the final barrier. However, just as Wade is poised to break through the last door, it's revealed to be a decoy. President Allen is actually safeguarded in a different office. This has bought enough time for the Marines and the National Guard to arrive and take control of the situation. Mike sees a helicopter approaching the roof. Knowing it must be Wade's extract, he begins pursuit, but once he engages in combat, he's shot from the helicopter. After neutralizing one of Wade's men, he hears a grenade rolling down, barely blocking it with the mercenary's body. Wade thinks they finally got him and runs to the helicopter that suddenly blows up. It was Mike with the grenade launcher. The 2 friends are the only ones left standing. They start a shootout, before engaging in a hand-to-hand combat. Suddenly Mike starts having another migraine. Ultimately Mike comes out on top, landing a final stab into Wade. Wade sits down, and as he's rapidly bleeding out, he admits to Mike that he's glad it was him. All the charges against Mike were dropped, and once Alan was reinstated as the president, at the G20 meeting, he eased all the tension with Russia. In the White House, Alan reveals to James that before Helen was gunned down, she exposed all his secret dealings with Wade, resulting in James' arrest. After keeping his family safe, Mike finally bonds with his father, happy that he's in his life. Mike comes clean about his addiction to painkillers and migraines. He offers his resignation, but being the only man Alan truly trusts in the White House and the valor he displayed to keep him alive, Alan wants him to become the new Secret Service director. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this.